So I'm going to play through two different pedals now. One is my go-to Klon centaur, and the other is just 6 electronic components. I'm using the same guitar, the same amp and settings. The only thing I'm changing out is the pedal. See if you can tell which is which. So the first one there was that tiny overdrive circuit, which is honestly pretty amazing. Okay, so what is this? Well, it's an incredibly simple little overdrive built around a single JFET. Now, there's no op amps or clipping diodes, there's no charge pump or tone control like the Klon has, and somehow it lands incredibly close to my favorite Klon settings. I've decided to call it the Mino-Taur, and if you've never built a guitar pedal before, this is probably one of the easiest projects that you could possibly start with. Okay, so here's the full parts list. And that's it. Seriously, it's just 6 components. Now, obviously, if you're building it into a pedal, you're going to need jacks, an enclosure, some wire, or you could just build it straight into a guitar. Either way, I've got this cool trick to putting it all together. The secret to this is building it on a tiny little JFET conversion PCB. It simply converts the surface mount JFET into something that's much easier to solder by hand, but we're actually using it as the circuit foundation. Now, if you'd like to experiment with the circuit a bit further, I've put a schematic over on my website with a whole bunch of different modifications and upgrades you can try. But for today's build, you don't need any of that. This super simple version is what we're building today. Okay, so first we're going to put the little JFET on the board. Now, if you've never soldered surface mount before, it's actually not that scary. What I do with these is I put a little bit of solder on the tip just to sort of tack it on and sort of hold it with my tweezers. Then once it's tacked on, just solder those pads. Cool, yeah, that looks good. Next, take your 8.2 nanofarad capacitor and you want to bend one leg up and one leg down like that. And you'll flip this board over, the opposite side of that JFET. It's going to push down through that hole that has the D above it. Now we're going to glue this into place too. I'm going to pop a little bit of super glue in between the capacitor and the board. So I'm going to do that now. There we go. So now that's glued on. Now we can solder that leg onto that pad that's marked D for drain. Next, I'm going to grab my 4.7 nanofarad capacitor and I'm going to solder it in parallel with this 10K resistor. Now this 10K resistor is our drain resistor. If you really want to dial this in, you can tweak this to get exactly 4.5 volts at the drain, but I do find 10K gets you pretty much bang on every time with one of these JFETs. Solder those legs on. Okay, so I'm just going to clip those legs. Now what I'm going to do is we're going to glue this one on top of this capacitor this way. So this leg on this side is going to connect down to that D pad here on that side, and the other leg's just going to go out like that. So I'm going to glue those on now, solder that together and show you what that looks like. Right, so you can see now how that leg comes down and touches that drain pad. So this is going to be our 9-volt input leg. Next, we're going to join a couple of resistors together. So we've got a 68K resistor here on the bottom and a 22K resistor there on the top. The 68K you want to bend down, and we're also going to bend down the 22 as well. Now, they're going to sit on top of this. Okay, so the 68K is going to join to that leg of the 8.2 nanofarad capacitor, and the 22K is going to go directly to that pad in the middle with the S label on it, which means source. We're going to bend that up, so we're going to solder all that together. Okay, so that's pretty much it. It's all done and ready to test now. Now that little G pad there, that's your gate, that's the input pad, so you're just going to run a wire to that. That'll be your direct input. The S pad here, this wire coming off it, that's connecting to your ground connection. That wire there, that one going in between that capacitor, that 10K one, that's going to be 9 volts. And this other wire here is your output wire. This is the one where those 2 resistors connect. So everything in this circuit has a point. That 8.2 nanofarad capacitor is shaping the low end output that's coming out of this unit along with these 2 resistors here. Now you can alter any of these components to change this unit in any way you can, and I've obviously got that on that schematic over on my site, but have a play around with some different values. This thing has actually got a ton of boost if you really wanted to unleash it. I just think it sounds really sweet, but everyone's different, everyone's got their own tastes. I've got this hooked up on my bench here with the amp turned on. Now this is how I test a lot of my circuits out of the box like this, just using alligator clips. Now what I like to do is I like to charge up my power supply. So I'll turn the power onto this power supply, get it all charged up, play my guitar, give it a couple of strums, and then I'll turn the power supply off and plug in. So it just gets a brief moment of power. So let's try that. There we go. Okay, so let's compare this directly against my Klon. Now it's in a ridiculously large enclosure, and that's because I've got future plans for this unit for some upcoming videos, so make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. Now my favorite spot to set up a Klon is gain and output volume at around 10 o'clock and tone at about 1 o'clock. Now this gives a really nice, slightly dirty boost, and it's awesome for pushing amps. So for this demo, I've installed the Mino-Taur circuit inside this tiny little enclosure here, so it's super compact, really cool pedalboard size. Now we'll start with a cleanish amp right on the edge of breakup, and then we're going to crank things up to a higher gain saturated tone. Just a super quick demo, listen to how close they are. Now the Mino-Taur just has a touch more beef and sparkle, but honestly, if someone swapped these out without telling me, I would probably struggle to notice the difference. And this is the part that probably surprised me the most. I actually prefer how the Mino-Taur feels under my fingers. It's incredibly dynamic, it compresses in this really cool way, and it kind of responds exactly how I want a pedal like this to respond. Now, rather than trying to explain it, have a listen to this. Even with all the ambient effects going on, you can still hear those dynamics and easily feel what the simple little circuit is doing. Now, obviously this isn't replacing a Klon. It doesn't have all the controls, and it isn't trying to be an exact clone. But if your favorite Klon sound is that sweet, slightly compressed, overdriven boost, then this little circuit gets surprisingly close. And the crazy part, it's only 6 components. So if you end up building one, please let me know down in the comments. And as always, have a great week. We'll catch you in the next video.